objective by the end, the student should be able to know the wrist joint, neurovascular supply of the wrist joint, radioulnar joint, and discuss its neurovascular supply, movement occurring at the joints, clinical correlate of the joints, classification of the intercarpal, metacarpal, and interphalangeal joints. The wrist joint or radiocarpal joint, that articulation surfaces, first of all, when we say that's the articulation means when the two bones unite together at a point that we have known as the articulation or the articulations. Between the distal end of the radius, this is the distal end of the radius, and the articular disc above the scaphoid, lunate, and the triquetral bone below. Triquetral, lunate, and scaphoid, they are from the below side, and radius from the above side. They are the articulate, as well as you can see in this pic. This is the radius, articular facet for the radius, articular facet for the scaphoid, and the lunate, and the triquetrum. What the type of the joint? The type of the joint, wrist joint, is a synovial ellipsoid joint. The capsule encloses the joint and it's attached above to the distal end of the radius. You can see over here, this is the distal end of the radius, this is the distal end of the radius, and that distal end of the radius and ulna, as well as they are below, and the proximal row of the carpal bone as the above. This is the proximal row of the carpal bone. This is the capsular ligaments. You can see that the capsular ligament is just covering whole of the joint spaces and the surrounding of the joint. The ligaments of the joint, anterior and posterior ligament, which strengthen the capsular ligament. Anterior and posterior ligament, which strengthen the capsular ligament. Medial ulnocarpal ligament is attached to the stellate process. This is the medial ligament, which attached on the stellate process over here on the ulna and to the triquetral bone. You can see this is the triquetral, and this is the medial ligament which attach with the triquetral over here. And the lateral are the radiocarpal. This is the radius bone. These are the carpal bone. Therefore, we can say the radiocarpal ligament. That lateral or radiocarpal ligament is attached to the stellate process of the radius. This is the stellate process of the radius, and to the scaphoid bone. And this is the scaphoid bone which is attached to the distal end of the stellate process and the scaphoid. On the dorsal side, there are dorsal radiocarpal ligament, radial collateral ligament, and the ulnar collateral ligament. This is the ulnar collateral ligament which is present on the dorsal side. This is the radiocarpal ligament, and this is the radial collateral ligament. Ulnar collateral ligament and radial collateral ligament runs from the ulna to the triquetrum and pachyform, and over here the radial collateral ligament, it just runs from the radius to the scaphoid of the trapezium. Palmar radiocarpal ligament, it's a broad ligament, huge, and it is attached at the lower end of the radius up towards the stellate process of the radius. It obliquely run downward, it splits and reach over the proximal row of the bone over here. And this radial collateral and ulnar collateral, they are the collateral for the medial as well as the lateral ligament. They are just supporting as the medial and the lateral collateral ligament. Anterior ligament or palmar volar radiocarpal ligament. This anterior ligament is most important ligament for controlling of the motion and wrist and the stability. Origin from the anterior surface of the distal end of the radius over here, radiocarpal ligament, and inserted course obliquely and medially to split. You can see this splitting over here, and goes obliquely over here and into the radiocapitate ligament. It's another ligament small which is just attach the radius with the capitis bones over there, and the radiotriquetrum ligament and the radioscaphoid ligament. Radioscaphoid ligament. One thing I told you that the name of the ligament is according to the attachment on the bone. On which bone? They are attached, the name is given according to that one. Radiotriquetrum, it means the small ligament which attach with the radius bone at the distal end and attach with the triquetrum. In such a way, radioscaphoid ligament is the same thing. Anterior ligament or the palmar ligament or holoulnocarpal ligament begins above the base of the styloid process of the ulna. You can see over here. This is the base of the styloid process of the ulna, and that carpal ligament, styloid process of the ulna over here, and articular disc runs downward and laterally, runs downward and towards the lateral side, attached to the lunate and triquetral and small extension of the capitate. There is the anterior ligament or palmar, holo, or you can say ulnocarpal ligament. Which one? The ulnocarpal ligament. Posterior ligament or dorsal radiocarpal ligament. This is the dorsal radiocarpal ligament which is present on the posterior side. From where it is origin on the posterior surface. This is the posterior surface of the radius, and distal end of the radius as well as of the ulna. This is the posterior surface of the radius, this is the posterior surface of the ulna, these are the distal end from where this large huge radiocarpal ligament is just origin over here. It again obliquely go upward and reach towards the triquetrum bone. This is the posterior ligament which is present on the dorsal side. Then the lateral ligament or radial collateral ligament. Lateral ligament or radial collateral ligament over here. The lateral and radial collateral ligament origin from the styloid process of the radius, just deep to this one. Origin from the styloid process of the radius and inserted into the scaphoid and the trapezium. Scaphoid this one and trapezium, it is just deep to the lateral ligament. You can see over here. That is the lateral ligament. Go downward and its origin from the radius, inserted toward the scaphoid and the trapezium. Medial ligament or ulnar collateral ligament. This is the medial ligament. And this origin from the ulnar or styloid process over here and inserted into the triquetrum dorsally and pisiform bone palmary over there. This is the medial collateral ligament. You can see that it's attached toward the triquetrum, origin of the styloid process. Now, what is the arterial supply of the wrist joint? The arteries which are arises from the dorsal and carpal arches, they supply the wrist joint. Now, what is the arch? The arch is formed by the union of the different arteries. Over here into the palmar view, you can see from one side the radial artery is coming and from the another side the ulnar artery is coming over here. And palmar carpal branch of the radial artery with just forming a loop around the wrist joint over here, and from the loop it gives the terminal branches which goes towards the phalanx over here, and at the site of the wrist joint it gives the small twigs towards the wrist joint as well, this palmar carpal arch. And on the dorsal side, you know very well that over here that's the posterior introitious artery coming over there, and the anterior introitious artery and dorsal carpal branch of the ulnar and as well as the radial, they forming an arch on the posterior side. And over here you can see these are the digital artery going upward and arising from this arch. Over here it is just above to the wrist, therefore it also receives the blood supply from this arch. Nerve supply of the wrist joint, anterior introitious branch of the median nerve, anterior introitious nerve, this is which is going downward over here, supplying to the muscle as well as it reaches and crosses the wrist joint and it reaches towards the end, therefore it supplies the wrist joint. Posterior introitious branch of the radial nerve. From the posterior side, you can see over here, this is the radial nerve. It's coming over here when it crosses the elbow joint and it goes towards the back, and then again it reaches up to the wrist, and posterior interosseous nerve is also over there. Apart from that, dorsal and deep branch of the ulnar nerve as well as also supply towards the wrist joint. Over here, the skin above to the wrist joint are supplying by the superficial branch of the radial nerve, you can see over here, and posterior cutaneous nerve of the forearm may reach to over here on both of the side over there. Palmar cutaneous branch of the ulnar nerve, they are also small, give towards the wrist joint, and superficial branch of the radial nerve. Now comes towards the relations. We always compare anterior, posterior, lateral and medially relations. Anteriorly, obviously, this is the flexor compartment, all the flexor tendons with their synovial sheaths and the median nerve. This is the median nerve. These are the flexor tendons and they are enveloped by the synovial sheath. They are all in relation with the wrist joint. This is the bone, which is the area forming the wrist joint. This is the anterior side over here. And the posterior side, obviously the posterior side is the extensor side. And extensor tendon of the wrist, they are going in relations towards the back over there. You can see over there, extensor pollicis longus, extensor pollicis indicis, digitorum, carpal ulnaris, and the extensor carpi radialis longus. All these extensor tendons, all these flexor tendons from the anterior, extensor tendon from the back. Simple way to remember that from the posterior, you can say the extensor tendon. From the anterior, you can say the flexor tendon. Apart from that difference, that only the median nerve is also present on the anterior side over here. And the ulnar nerve is also present over here, but it is not more towards the anterior. You can say anterior lateral margins over here. And the radial artery, you can see that is the this is the medial margins. The ulnar nerve is on the medial margin. The radial artery is present on the lateral side, and posterior cutaneous branch of the ulnar nerve, which is present on the medial side. In such a way, these are the relations. Movements of the wrist joint, movements of the hand at the wrist joint. The movement which occur into the wrist joint, that's the flexion. You can see over here. The flexion, the extension, the hyperextensions go beyond the extension side. Then the radial flexion, over here you can see the radial flexion are deviations, and that's the abduction. Ulnar flexions are the ulnar deviations. You can see that's the adduction, and that is the circumductions, combination of the pronation and the supinations. We can say that is the circumduction. Muscle causing the wrist actions. What are the muscles which involve into the action of the wrist joint? The flexor, obviously, the flexor carpi radialis, flexor carpi ulnaris, palmaris longus, and extensor side, the extensor, three muscles are involved for the extensor of the wrist. That is the carpi radialis longus, carpi radialis brevis, carpi ulnaris, all these extensor. These muscles do not cause finger movement. Remember it. They are responsible for the action on the wrist only. Ulnar abductor and the radial abductor are the ulnar and radial deviations towards the lateral side. Extensor carpi ulnaris and flexor carpi ulnaris, they are responsible for the ulnar abductor, are the ulnar abductions over there. Radial abduction, extensor carpi radialis longus, flexor carpi radialis, abductor pollicis longus, and extensor pollicis brevis, they are responsible for the radial deviations, or you can say that is the radial abductor. Now, joints of the hand. The joints of the hand, they are the mid-carpal joint. This is the mid-carpal joint. That it means the joint between the carpal bone. There are two rows of the carpal bone, proximal and distal, and they forming the joint to each other over here, and that type of the joint is plane in nature or plane joints, and it allows the gliding motion or the gliding movement, but assisted with the wrist motions. When the wrist is moved, this joint is also slightly assessed to the movement of the wrist joint. Then the carpo-metacarpal joint means the joint in between the carpals and the metacarpal bone. What type of this joint? Condylar synovial joint. Hamate with the 4th and 5th metacarpal. Hamate, you can see over there, which attach with the 5th and 4th metacarpals over there. Then the capitate with the 3rd metacarpal, this one, and the trapezoid with the 2 metacarpals, and this is the gliding joint with the limited range, mostly passive palmar and dorsal carpo-metacarpal ligament, which giving the support to this joint. Now you can see over here into this one, this is the metacarpals. These are the metacarpals, these are the carpals bone. You can see they are forming the joint over here, carpo-metacarpal joint, or the mid-carpal joint over here. You can see over there. That is the carpo-metacarpal joint, mid-carpal joint, and radiocarpal joint over there. And the radiocarpal joint is a small joint, again is forming in between the radius and the carpal bone. Over here, you can see over here. First carpo-metacarpal joint are the thumb over here. That the trapezium bone, which is shown over here, you can see the trapezium which forming the joint with the first metacarpal. Now this joint is concave convex articular surfaces. The metacarpal base or the distal end of the metacarpal is convex, and the articular facet of the trapezium is concave. Therefore, we say concave convex articular surfaces outdoor. And this is the saddle type of the synovial joint. And it adds the rotatory movement, and very mobile movement can occur. Capsule support the lateral ligament, anterior ligament, and posterior ligament. It means the ligament which is present or attached over here, they are one itself, the capsular ligament, and you know the capsular ligament is present every joint, and the lateral ligament, anterior ligament, and posterior ligament. What is the blood supply of this joint? That is the radial vessels. Nerve supply, that is the first digital branch of the median nerve. Now this is the very free movement occur into this joint. That is the flexion, extension, adduction, opposition, rotation. All the movements can occur into the joint over here. Metacarpal phalangeal joint. The metacarpal phalangeal joint, as name indicate, these are the metacarpals, these are the phalangeals. The joint which form in between the metacarpal and phalangeals over here, that is known as the metacarpal phalangeal joint. There are passive rotatory movement is occur. The collateral ligament is attached to this joint over here, and the deep transverse metacarpal ligament is also attached. These are the small ligaments which are attached over there. Palmar ligaments forming the plate over here, and flexion and extensions, they are the movement of this metacarpophalangeal joint, and a little bit contribution into the adduction and the abduction of the hand is also. Now in this one you can see that the ligament capsule metacarpophalangeal joint, this is the capsular ligament which is surrounding the each carpometacarpal joints over there. This is the palmar ligament which is the flat and covering as a staple-like structures over there, and the each ligament, palmar ligament, is just bound or sandwiched by the deep transverse metacarpal ligament. This is the deep transverse metacarpal ligament. They are the supporting the each bone to each other, and they are the responsible for the adduction abduction movement over here, the flexion and extension. During the flexion extension, adduction abduction, these all ligaments are support to the joint. Interphalangeal joint, as name indicate, that it means the joint between the phalanx of the 8 digits. This is the proximal interphalangeal joint. This is the middle phalanx, and this is the distal phalanx. This is the distal interphalangeal joint. Distal interphalangeal, proximal interphalangeal joints over here. Now, you can see metacarpophalangeal joint over here, and into the metacarpophalangeal joint, you can see that this is the collateral ligament, that's the cord-like, and that's the fan portions of the collateral, and that's the palmar ligament over here. Interphalangeal joint, they are the hinge variety, and they are supported by the collateral ligament over here and the palmar ligament over here. And that palmar ligament is over here. You can see that is the palmar ligament, and that is forming the plate are supporting towards the structures on the interphalangeal joint. Clinical correlations. Fracture and dislocation may occur on the wrist joint. And most common thing which we can observe most commonly, that is the ganglion. Ganglion is nothing but it's a small cystic swelling. Now, what is the cystic swelling? That it synovial sheet which is just present on the wrist joints around the tendon. When there is a degenerative changes occur into the synovial sheet, that synovial fluid just ooze out, and they forming a small swelling over here on the back of the wrist, and that small swelling which filled with the semi-solid fluid of the synovial, that we have called the ganglion. Arthritis cause damage to the bones, surfaces, cartilage where 3 bones rub together. These damaged surfaces eventually become the painful, especially at the interphalangeal joint. Wrist and hand injuries, fracture of the wrist and hand, finger fractures, that is the boxer fractures. We can over here fracture of the 5th metacarpals and hitting something with the fisted hand. You can see over here. Now, the wrist fracture, which is the more common into the old age, that when the persons fall down in the outstretched hand, a result which occur over here, that the wrist become extended, it apply to the pressure at the lower end of the radius as well as of the ulna. You can see over here, that is the radius and that is the ulna, both get fracture over here, and the deformity which occur over here at the wrist joint, that we have called the Colles fracture, and that Colles fracture is more common into the menopausal woman, or the age become advanced into the woman. There is a chances to become the fracture at the lower end of the radius and ulna, that is known as the Colles fracture. Tendon injuries. One, that is the mallet finger, hitting something with the tip of the finger over here. You can see over there. When something is hit by the finger, causing the extensor tendon to tear. This is the extensor tendon. You can see that extensor tendon become tear over here. That is known as the mallet finger. Jersey finger, grabbing something and tearing the flexor tendon on the flexor side. When the tendon become damaged, that we are known as the jersey finger. Quaternary deformity. Quaternary deformity, extensor tendon. This is the extensor side. You can see over here that the extensor tendon injury affecting the 2 joints of the finger. Maybe the proximal and distal, or maybe the middle and the distal. It is an injury to the central tendon on the top of the finger over here. It may appear as the jammed finger over here. You can see over here. There are 2 fingers affected in this one. And jammed finger extended from the proximal interphalangeal joint. and treatment should be in extended position so the tendon can heal, and this extended positions for a 3 to 6 week is required. Then the dislocation or subluxation. Dislocation occurs in finger and the wrist bone as well. You can see that's the dislocations. Point tenderness and swelling, possible deformity, and this is just intervened by the physicians. Our physician interventions may be necessary, not the surgical procedures needed for the dislocations of the finger. Then the fracture of the carpal bones. Scaphoid is the most frequently fractured carpal bone over here, and fracture of the scaphoid occurs after fall on the outstretched hand. That again, when the persons fall down on outstretched hands, shows the deep tenderness in anatomical synapse box area, and this anatomical synapse box area is the area where the radial nerve the radial artery is crossing, and there is a chances to damage the radial artery and can cause the avascular necrosis of the bone, obviously. And when the radial artery become damaged, the supply area of the radial artery become affected, and degenerative disease of the wrist joint may affect, but very rarely the degenerative changes. When the fracture of the hook of the hamate is occur over here, and from the hook of the hamate, the ulnar nerve and ulnar artery are nearer to that, they may get injured during the fracture of the hook of the hamate. You can see this is the hamate. This is the hook of the hamate over here. When this hook of the hamate, the structure is passing from there, that is the ulnar nerve and artery, they become damaged over here and they become injured at the site. Now what is the Guyon Canal Syndrome? The Guyon Canal, that is the ulnar tunnel. It means a small passage or a tunnel is formed just at the pisiform and the hook of the hamate, and the pisohamate ligament, which deep to the palmaris previous and palmaris carpal ligament, and transmit the ulnar nerve and artery. As in this pic, we say that the ulnar nerve and artery, where they can become damaged at the hook of the hamate over here, and from here the ligament is attached just above these bone, and they forming the small canal for the passage of the ulnar nerve and the ulnar artery. When these both will be affected, that entrapment of the ulnar nerves into the Guyon's canal, then we'll say the Guyon's Canal Syndrome. What is the symptoms of the Guyon Canal Syndrome? Obviously, the pain, numbness, tingling in the ring and little fingers, because the nerve is affected. When the nerve is affected, and that all the symptoms of the nerves we can found over here, followed by the loss of the sensations and motor weakness. Surgical decompressions of the nerve is just treatment of that one. Thank you.